All right, I am back with another video. Firstly, I want to say thank you guys. I just recently, the other day, hit 100 subscribers, which that's a to me that's a pretty cool milestone. Because I remember just like what I think it was like last season. I just randomly just decided to start this channel, and it was just gonna be like kind of just a passion project. So the fact that 100 people have stayed subscribed this whole time, I really appreciate that, especially since I haven't had enough free time to do as much uploading as I wanted to. But again, I'm gonna try to change that in the future. And also hopefully you guys are all having a fun Memorial Day weekend, just enjoying yourself. And obviously salute to all the soldiers we lost. But in this video I want to get into Rashod Bateman. Obviously I'm a few days late on this, but Rashad Bateman, he did an interview with Marlon Humphrey on Marlon Humphrey's podcast, his podcast Studio 44 with the Ravens. I'm actually kind of curious if Marlon and Ronnie Stanley are still doing the other podcast they had. I haven't checked in on that in a while, but still on Studio 44, he interviewed Rashad Bateman, and Rashad, he asked Rashad Bateman, how did Rashad feel, or what was he thinking the night, draft night a few weeks ago when they traded Hollywood Brown to the Arizona Cardinals. And I really look, I respected Rashad's answer. I respected his answer. He gave a very honest answer. He said, it's my time. I love him. He's my brother. We was receivers too. We was teammates, but it's my time. And of course, obviously that's exciting. You want him, you want to hear, your receivers have confidence. Obviously, I know also a few weeks ago, Rashad Bateman responded to somebody on Twitter saying that him and the receivers, they're gonna do well, blah blah blah, and saying people talk too much or whatever. Again, people have a right to say what they want to say, but at the same time, I do appreciate the confidence that he's showing, and the fact that he's trying to adapt to the mindset of being a leader in a receiving room on the NFL level, because he was already talking about reaching out to his teammates, and talking about, he said something to the effect of wanting their help and support as he really adopts this leadership role, which obviously that's cool. We've all seen Rashad Bateman show flashes of greatness. Obviously his college highlights, but even in the NFL level, you think to like that Browns game where Tyler Huntley threw a pass to him. It was like a 10-yard pass or whatever, but then Rashad just he got a little wiggle room, and then he almost took it to the house. He was like a yard shy or whatever. There was a game in the Dolphins game. There was a Dolphins game where Lamar, he threw like a 30-yard pass to Rashad, and it was a difficult look. It was a difficult angle in my opinion, but Rashad still caught. I thought that was cool. Obviously there's been a couple times where Rashad Bateman last season, he's shown flashes of greatness, but I am one of the people who's critiqued his rookie season, because in my opinion it was underwhelming. I did a video before the season started where I said that what would it take for Rashad Bateman to have what, by this team standards, a successful rookie season. And I wasn't necessarily expecting him to come out and have like 1,200 yards or anything like that, but if I remember correctly, I did say that he would need to have about more or less 600 to 800 yards and about at least like 5 touchdowns, and to end 50, like more or less 50 catches for it to really be considered like a successful season. And to be fair, he kind of got close, but he still came up short. He had like 46 receptions, 500 yards. Now again, to be fair, he only got targeted 68 times, so 46 catches out of 68 targets. That's obviously very good, but a lot of people, they're using the injury as an excuse, but he played 12 games. So right now, many of us, we're very excited for him. We have a lot of anticipation, and we're projecting that he's going to be this monster, but we can't sit here and honestly say he's already proven it. A lot of times when people like me are talking about still bringing in another elite receiver like a Terry McLaurin or DK Metcalf, but I really wish they would bring in Terry McLaurin. Like a lot of people, they're just like, oh, we don't gotta worry about that. We got Rashod Bateman. It's like, listen, I have high hopes for him too, but at the same time, we got to be honest here. He hasn't proven it yet. I believe he can. I believe he will, but he hasn't yet. Like we need to. And again, when you look at all these other teams, they already had proven receivers and they still went out and stacked up on more proven receivers because like I've been saying for a while now, in today's NFL, if you really care about your quarterback, you need to surround them with overwhelming talent. Joe Burrow has 3 number 1 receivers right now. Tua Tagovailoa now has 2 number 1 receivers, not just number 1 receivers. He has 2 of the fastest receivers in the NFL, 2 of the fastest overall players in the NFL, in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And then he also obviously he has like Gesicki and like you're looking at all these other teams like the Buccaneers. They got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They had Antonio Brown before he left. You know, they just overwhelming amount of talent. But nonetheless, you know, some people say it's not Rashod Bateman's fault that he had an underwhelming season because, you know, he only got 68 targets and he only started 4 out of the 12 games. And that's to be fair, like, again, that's a fair point, obviously. But again, I'm one of the people who said get rid of these coaches, but some people in the Ravens flock, they're just so ridiculously attached to John Harbaugh and Greg Roman. They don't want to accept the fact that these coaches aren't good enough, that these coaches are holding a lot of these players back. Because if you're complaining about Rashod Bateman not getting enough targets or not starting as much as he should have, that's not Lamar Jackson's fault. That's not even Rashod Bateman's fault. That's a coaching problem. The coaches, they don't recognize talent. They're holding back players. They are. You know, like, and I think I might do another video about something related to that too. But one thing I do want to talk about is it possible for Rashod Bateman to come out next season and have like a 1,500 yard and 15 touchdown season? I know that sounds like a very ambitious number, but if they don't go out and get another elite receiver, which I still think they should, I really, really, really wish they can pull off some sort of miracle trade to get Terry McLaurin. Like, if we could somehow like finesse the Commanders into like taking Chuck Clark and maybe like a 2nd round draft pick and maybe a few other like skill position players and give us Terry McLaurin, I would be extremely excited. I would be fully on the Super Bowl train. Like, there is nothing, even Greg Roman can't hold back that type of talent. You know, if you had like Rashod Bateman, Terry McLaurin, Mark Andrews, and then even if players like Tylan Wallace, I don't know what Tylan Wallace is going to be, obviously, because he didn't get much opportunity he didn't get really any opportunity last year. But who knows, maybe he can be the guy that leapfrogs past James Prochet and Devin Duvernay, and could be like the real number 2. Because again, I don't believe in Devin Duvernay and James Prochet. I've said that already. But I still think a 1,500 yard and 15 touchdown season is possible if they don't go out and get like another good receiver and they just leave it as is, or if they only go out and get like some like older veteran like Julio Jones, who I like Julio Jones, but at this point you really can't expect much from him. That I do think Rashod Bateman should, as crazy as it sounds, really expect or at least aim for like that type of elite season of like 1,500 plus yards, 15 plus touchdowns. Because you got to realize Hollywood's gone. Hollywood last year had 146 targets. Hollywood Brown, a lot of people don't even realize this. Hollywood Brown was the ninth, I repeat, he was the 9th most targeted receiver in the NFL. A lot of people really didn't pay attention to that. There are a lot of players in the NFL a lot of receivers, I should say, who didn't get that much attention or not that much attention, but that much, that much targets in the NFL. And these are players that we wouldn't even put Hollywood Brown over, man. Like, you look at certain players like Hollywood Brown, he got more. If I'm not mistaken, he got more targets than T. Higgins, A.J. Brown, Mike Williams, Deebo Samuel, Jamar Chase. like Henry Renfro, CD Lamb. Like there's a lot of players last year who Hollywood Brown got more targets than. Players who you wouldn't guess he had more targets than, but he did. 146. Sammy Watkins is also gone. Sammy Watkins last year had about 49 targets. So just from those two players' absence alone, you're talking about 195 targets being left on the table. Assuming, like, if everything was to replay this season, but we're all healthy, like, you would have, like, you're talking about 195, at least 195 targets on the table. In my opinion, most of those targets should now go to Rashod Bateman. Like that, and I think that Rashod Bateman, if given some of those targets that Hollywood got, he would make much better use of it. Because Hollywood, again, I rooted for Hollywood for so long, but one of the biggest issues I would have with Hollywood is I felt like he wasn't aggressive enough. Like, he was more of a finesse player. Like, he wasn't willing to get down and dirty. He wasn't willing to get more aggressive. Like, you know, and one of the things that excites me about Rashod Bateman is the fact that you've seen certain moments where he fought for extra yards. You saw it. So with that, you know, I think that, and then also, I don't know yet if Rashod Bateman is going to have like the same drop problems that Hollywood did. So imagine if Rashod doesn't have the same drop problem that Hollywood did, and if he fights for more yards after the catch than Hollywood did. It's very possible to think that a 1,500 yard season is possible. It is like, it's not crazy to say that. Will it happen? I don't know, but you know, we would just have to see. Something else, something that was just random that I had to mention real quick was, man, Rashod Bateman's father was a Steelers fan. Man, I'm gonna leave that alone, man. But something about that. I don't hate none of these. I respect all the teams in the AFC North, but something about that is just like, ugh. But, you know, again, but obviously 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns wouldn't be as likely if they bring in like Terry McLaurin. Then I think he would. I still think Rashod Bateman would, in that situation, I still think because they drafted him, they still would make Rashod the number one, and Terry McLaurin would either be kind of like a 1B or just a number 2. But I still think in that situation, Rashod would still probably end up with, 1,100 or 1,200 yards. But, again, we'll see. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns is like too high of expectations? Or do you think, considering the situation, it is, within reach? And how do you feel about Rashod Bateman saying that it's his time?